The moment I heard it, my stomach dropped straight through the floor. Let me take you back to the beginning, because this is one of those stories that starts in the most ordinary way imaginable and ends somewhere you would never, ever predict. I am 28 years old. My wife, Brooke, is the same age. We have been married for 3 years, together for 6, and until the evening I am about to describe, I genuinely thought I had a pretty good handle on the people in my life. I thought I knew my family. I thought I knew hers. Turns out, I did not know nearly as much as I believed. It was a Thursday evening, sometime around 6:30. The sun was starting to dip behind the rooftops, painting everything in that warm golden light that makes even the ugliest suburban street look like a postcard. I had a stack of floor tiles in the back of my truck, about 4 boxes worth, the kind with the faux marble finish that my dad had been wanting for the upstairs bathroom renovation. He had asked me to pick them up from the hardware store weeks ago, and I had finally gotten around to it. My parents were out of state, celebrating their 35th wedding anniversary with a road trip through the Blue Ridge Mountains. Dad had told me to just let myself in through the side door and leave the tiles in the garage. Simple enough. Quick errand. In and out in 5 minutes. That is not what happened. I pulled onto their street and immediately noticed the congestion. Cars everywhere, lining both sides of the road, some of them double parked like animals. There was clearly some kind of party happening a few houses down. Music was thumping, people were milling around on the front lawn with red cups, and somebody had set up one of those inflatable bounce houses in the yard. Not my scene, not my problem. I just needed to find a place to park. I ended up about 4 houses past my parents' place, wedged between a minivan and a pickup that looked like it had not been washed since the Clinton administration. I killed the engine, grabbed the first 2 boxes of tiles from the bed, and started walking. The evening air was warm and still. Crickets were already going at it in the bushes. I could hear the bass from the party, muffled conversations, laughter, normal neighborhood stuff. I balanced the boxes on my forearms and made my way up my parents' driveway, around to the side door that leads into the mudroom, which connects to the garage. Dad keeps a spare key under the 3rd potted plant on the left. Always the 3rd one. I fished it out, unlocked the door, and stepped inside. And that is when I heard it. At first, my brain could not process what I was hearing. The house was supposed to be empty. My parents were 700 miles away. There should have been nothing but silence and maybe the hum of the refrigerator. Instead, there were sounds coming from upstairs. Rhythmic sounds. Unmistakable sounds. The kind of sounds that make you want to immediately turn around, walk back to your truck, drive home, and pretend you were never there. My first thought, and I am genuinely embarrassed to admit this, was that my parents had somehow come back early. That maybe they had cut their anniversary trip short and were now, at 6:30 on a Thursday evening, in their bedroom, doing things I absolutely never wanted to think about. I felt my face get hot. My 63-year-old father and my 61-year-old mother. No, absolutely not. I set the tile boxes down as quietly as I could, fully prepared to sneak back out the way I came. But then I glanced through the glass-paneled door that separates the mudroom from the garage. My brother's car was parked inside. My younger brother, Tyler, 23 years old. He does not live with my parents. He has his own apartment across town, a cramped little one-bedroom above a dry cleaner that perpetually smells like chemical solvents and regret. Tyler's car was a silver Honda Civic with a dent in the rear bumper from the time he backed into a mailbox in college. I would recognize that car anywhere. And it was right there, sitting in my parents' garage like it belonged there. My brain scrambled for an explanation. Okay, Tyler brought a girl back to mom and dad's place because his apartment is a disaster. Not ideal, kind of weird, but not unthinkable. Tyler has always been the less put together of the two of us. His apartment looks like a tornado went through a Goodwill. I could see him wanting to impress someone by using our parents' much nicer house while they were away. Creepy? A little, but it tracked. I decided I did not want to make things awkward. Tyler is a grown man. He is allowed to have a personal life. I would just come back tomorrow, drop off the tiles, and never mention this to anyone. No harm, no foul. I backed out of the mudroom, locked the side door, replaced the key under the 3rd potted plant, and started walking back to my truck. That is when the second bomb dropped. As I approached my truck, I glanced at the car parked directly in front of it. A white Hyundai Tucson with a "My Kid is an Honor Student" bumper sticker and a car seat visible through the rear window. I knew that car. I knew that car because I had seen it parked in the driveway at every family barbecue, every holiday dinner, every birthday party for the last 4 years. It belonged to my sister-in-law, Megan. Megan is Brooke's younger sister. She is 25, married to a guy named Derek, and they have 2 kids together, a 4-year-old daughter named Lily and a 2-year-old son named Caleb. Megan and Derek have been married for 5 years. They were high school sweethearts. They were supposed to be the couple that made it. The couple everyone else pointed to and said, "See, true love does exist." And Megan's car was parked 30 feet from my parents' house while my brother was inside with someone, while sounds were coming from upstairs. I stood there on that sidewalk for what felt like an eternity. In reality, it was probably 45 seconds. But time does something strange when your entire understanding of the people you love is collapsing in real time. My hands were shaking. My mouth had gone completely dry. I could feel my heartbeat in my temples, this dull, insistent thump that seemed to say, "You know, you know, you know." But did I know? Did I really? I had not seen Megan inside the house. I had not seen her car keys on the counter or her purse on the table. All I actually knew for certain, was that Tyler's car was in the garage and Megan's car was on the street. And there was a massive house party happening 3 doors down. There was a chance, an admittedly slim chance, that Megan was at the party. That her car being there was a coincidence. That whatever Tyler was doing upstairs had nothing to do with her. I clung to that possibility like a drowning man clings to a piece of driftwood. I got in my truck. I sat there for a long time with my hands on the steering wheel, staring straight ahead at nothing. The party music thumped. Someone shrieked with laughter. A dog barked somewhere in the distance. And I sat there, trying to figure out what in the world I was supposed to do with the information that was currently setting fire to the inside of my skull. The drive home was 15 minutes. It felt like 3 hours. I ran through every possible scenario in my head. Scenario 1. Tyler and Megan are having an affair. This is the nuclear option. This means my brother is sleeping with my wife's married sister. This means 2 families are about to be destroyed. This means Lily and Caleb might grow up in a broken home. This means Christmases and Thanksgivings will never be the same. This means I have to tell Brooke, and telling Brooke means she has to tell Derek, and telling Derek means everything detonates. Scenario 2. Megan was at the party. Tyler was with someone else. Coincidence. Life goes on. Nothing to see here. Scenario 3. Some explanation I had not thought of yet. Maybe Megan was dropping something off at the house for my mom. Maybe Tyler was helping Megan with something. Maybe there was a perfectly innocent reason for all of this. But none of those scenarios explain the sounds I heard coming from upstairs. I pulled into my driveway, turned off the engine, and sat in the dark cab of my truck for another 5 minutes. Through the living room window, I could see Brooke on the couch, her face illuminated by the soft glow of her tablet. She was probably scrolling through home decor ideas on some app, something she does every night after dinner. She looked peaceful, content, completely unaware that her husband was sitting 30 feet away, debating whether or not to blow up her entire world. I went inside. Brooke looked up and smiled. "Hey, did you drop off the tiles?" "Store was out of the ones he wanted." I lied. The words came out so smoothly it startled me. I am not a liar by nature. I hate lying. But the lie was out before I could even think about it, like my subconscious had decided to buy me more time. "Oh, bummer. You can try again this weekend." "Yeah, this weekend." I sat down next to her on the couch. She leaned into me, warm and familiar, and went back to her tablet. I stared at the TV, which was playing some home renovation show that neither of us was really watching, and I felt like there was a grenade in my chest with the pin already pulled. Do I tell her? Do I not tell her? If I tell her, and I am wrong, I have just accused her sister of something terrible for no reason. If I do not tell her, and I am right, I am complicit in a lie. I am keeping a secret that she has every right to know. What kind of husband does that make me? I barely slept that night. Brooke drifted off around 10:30, her breathing settling into that slow, steady rhythm that usually puts me right to sleep too. Not that night. That night, I lay in the dark, staring at the ceiling fan as it made its lazy rotations, and I replayed everything I had seen and heard on a continuous loop. Tyler's car, Megan's car, the sounds, the sounds, the sounds. By morning, I had made a decision. I was not going to say anything yet, not until I had more information. The worst thing I could do was go to Brooke with suspicions and speculation. I needed something closer to certainty. So I formulated a plan. A dumb plan, honestly. A plan that felt like it belonged in a bad detective movie. But it was all I had. After work the next day, a Friday, I drove back to my parents' street. It was around 5 in the afternoon. The party from the previous night had been cleaned up, the bounce house deflated and folded into a sad-looking pile in someone's yard. The street was quiet. I parked in the same spot as before and walked up to my parents' house. This time, I actually had the tiles with me. If anyone asked, I was just dropping off floor tiles. Perfectly normal. Nothing suspicious. Just a good son doing his father a favor. I let myself in through the side door again. The house was silent. No sounds. No cars in the garage. The upstairs was empty, the beds made, everything exactly as my parents had left it. If Tyler and whoever he was with had been here the night before, they had cleaned up after themselves meticulously. I dropped the tiles in the garage, locked up, and drove past the front of the house on my way out. No white Hyundai Tucson. No silver Honda Civic. Nothing out of place. I felt a strange mix of relief and frustration. Relief because maybe I had been wrong. Frustration because I was no closer to knowing the truth. The weekend came and went. I was a wreck, but I hid it well. Brooke and I went grocery shopping on Saturday, had dinner with some friends on Sunday, watched a movie on the couch that evening. Normal life. Domestic bliss. The whole time, I was carrying this weight on my shoulders, this invisible boulder that got heavier every time I looked at my wife and thought about what I might know. I considered confronting Tyler directly, just calling him up and saying, "Hey man, I was at mom and dad's on Thursday, and I saw your car, and I heard some things, and I also noticed Megan's car was outside. So what is going on?" But every time I picked up the phone, I chickened out. What if he denied it? What if he got angry? What if he told Megan, and Megan told Brooke, and suddenly I was the bad guy for snooping and making accusations? Monday came. I was at work, sitting at my desk, pretending to care about quarterly sales projections, when my phone buzzed. It was Brooke. "Hey, can you talk for a sec?" My heart immediately went into overdrive. "Yeah, what's up?" So, I just got off the phone with Megan. Her voice was strange. Not upset exactly, but loaded, like she was processing something big. "Okay," I said carefully. "She and Derek are getting a divorce." I nearly dropped my phone. "What?" "Yeah. Apparently, Derek has been having an affair. For like 8 months. With some woman. Lily's preschool teacher, of all people. Can you even believe that? The preschool teacher. The woman who is responsible for their daughter 5 days a week." I leaned back in my office chair and stared at the ceiling tiles. My brain was doing backflips, trying to reconcile this new information with everything I had seen and heard on Thursday night. Derek was cheating. Derek, the high school sweetheart, the devoted family man, Mr. Perfect, was sleeping with his kid's preschool teacher. For 8 months. How did she find out? I asked. She found messages on his phone. Like a lot of messages. And photos. And hotel receipts. He was not even trying to hide it that well. She confronted him and he admitted everything. Said he had feelings for this woman and wanted to be with her. That is... I trailed off. My mind was racing. That is awful. Megan is devastated. I mean, she is angry too, but mostly she is just heartbroken. She thought they were happy. She thought everything was fine. And this whole time, he has been sneaking around behind her back. I sat with this information for the rest of the day, and slowly, a new picture started to form. A picture that looked very different from the one I had been torturing myself with all weekend. If Derek had been cheating on Megan for 8 months, then Megan's marriage had been crumbling for a long time, maybe longer than anyone realized. And if Megan had found out, or even suspected, then she would have needed someone to talk to, someone to confide in, someone outside her immediate family, maybe, because telling Brooke would mean telling everyone. Someone like Tyler. Tyler, who had always gotten along well with Megan at family gatherings. Tyler, who was the easygoing, non-judgmental, good listener type. Tyler, who was single and available and kind in the way that a woman whose marriage was falling apart might find incredibly comforting. Was it possible that Megan had turned to Tyler for emotional support, and that emotional support had turned into something more? Was it possible that what I heard on Thursday night was not an affair in the traditional sense, but two people finding each other in the wreckage of someone else's betrayal? The thought settled over me like a warm blanket. It did not erase the weirdness of the situation, it did not make it uncomplicated, but it made it something other than catastrophic. It made it human. I decided I needed to talk to Tyler. Not accuse him, just talk. I called him Tuesday evening and asked if he wanted to grab a beer. He said sure. We met at a bar near his apartment, a dim little place with sticky floors and a jukebox that only played classic rock. I ordered a pale ale. He ordered a whiskey sour. We made small talk for about 10 minutes, sports, work, mom and dad's anniversary trip, before I finally worked up the nerve. Hey, so I need to tell you something, I said. Tyler looked at me over the rim of his glass. Okay. I went by mom and dad's on Thursday to drop off those tiles for dad. I parked down the street because of some party. I let myself in through the side door. I watched his face carefully. There it was. A flicker of something. Recognition. Maybe a little bit of fear. And I heard some things, I continued, coming from upstairs. Tyler set his glass down very slowly. He did not say anything for a long moment. The jukebox was playing Free Bird, which felt absurdly appropriate for a conversation about the possible implosion of two families. And on my way back to my truck, I said, I noticed Megan's car was parked on the street. Tyler closed his eyes. He exhaled through his nose, long and slow, the way you do when you have been carrying something heavy for a long time and you finally get to set it down. Yeah, he said quietly. That was us. The confirmation hit different than I expected. I had been bracing for denial, for anger, for some elaborate cover story. Instead, I got honesty. Raw, tired, unvarnished honesty. How long? I asked. It has only been a few weeks. Maybe 3. But the talking, that has been going on longer. Since February, I think. She called me one night, completely falling apart. She had found some messages on Derek's phone, and she did not know what to do. She did not want to tell Brooke yet because she was not sure, and she did not want to blow everything up over a suspicion. So she called me. Why you? Tyler shrugged. I honestly do not know. Maybe because I am outside the main circle. I am your brother, but I am not her sister. She could talk to me without it getting back to everyone immediately. And I guess I was just there. I picked up the phone. I listened. He took a drink of his whiskey sour. At first, it was just phone calls. She would call late at night, after the kids were asleep, and just talk. Vent. Cry sometimes. I would listen. That was it. For weeks, that was all it was. She was going through something terrible, and I was just the person she happened to reach out to. And then it turned into more, I said. It was not a question. Yeah, Tyler said. Gradually. We started meeting for coffee during the day, then lunch. Then she needed someone to watch the kids one afternoon while she went to a lawyer's office, and I volunteered. And somewhere in there, it just shifted. The way she looked at me started to feel different. The way I felt when she called started to feel different. We both tried to fight it. She was still technically married. I am her sister's brother-in-law. It is weird on paper. We both knew that. He paused, running his thumb along the rim of his glass. But Derek was already gone, man. He had checked out of that marriage months ago. He was sleeping with someone else. He had basically abandoned his family. By the time anything happened between me and Megan, her marriage was over. It was just a matter of making it official. I sat there, processing. The bar was nearly empty. The jukebox had moved on to Hotel California. The bartender was wiping down glasses with a rag that did not look particularly clean. So Thursday night at Mom and Dad's, I said. Tyler winced. Yeah, not my finest moment, logistically speaking. My apartment is a nightmare. Her place is obviously off limits because of Derek and the kids, and we were just desperate for some time alone. Mom and Dad were gone. The house was empty. It seemed like a good idea at the time. It was not a good idea, I said. No, he agreed. It was not. We talked for another hour. Tyler told me about everything Megan had been going through. The discovery of Derek's affair, the confrontation, his complete lack of remorse. Apparently, Derek had told Megan that he had outgrown their relationship and that he deserved to be happy. As if happiness was something you achieved by lying to your wife and sleeping with your daughter's teacher. The divorce paperwork had been filed the previous week. Megan was staying in the house with the kids. Derek had moved into an apartment downtown. Does Brooke know about you too? I asked. Not yet. Megan wants to tell her, but she is terrified. She is afraid Brooke will judge her, or think she moved on too fast, or blame her for the marriage falling apart. She keeps saying she wants to wait until the divorce is finalized. Brooke is going to find out, I said, one way or another. I know, and it is going to be a lot worse if she finds out from someone who is not you or Megan. Tyler looked at me. Are you going to tell her? I thought about it. Really thought about it. For about 30 seconds, I weighed the options. And then I said, I think Megan should tell her. But if she does not do it soon, then yeah, I am going to have to. Brooke is my wife. I cannot keep something like this from her. Tyler nodded. He did not argue. He looked, if anything, relieved. As it turned out, I did not have to push the issue. Megan called Brooke the very next evening. I was in the kitchen making dinner, pasta with that red sauce Brooke likes, the one with the roasted garlic, when I heard Brooke's phone ring in the living room. She answered it, and I heard her say, Hey Meg, what's up? I stirred the sauce. I listened. There was a long stretch where Brooke did not say anything, which meant Megan was doing a lot of talking. Then I heard Brooke say, Wait, what? And then, with Tyler. And then, shut up. Shut up. Are you serious right now? I braced myself. This was either going to be very bad or very... Well, I did not know what the other option was. Brooke appeared in the kitchen doorway about 10 minutes later. Her eyes were wide. Her mouth was doing that thing where it cannot decide if it wants to smile or drop open in shock. So, she said. So, I said, stirring the sauce. Megan is seeing your brother. I know. Brooke blinked. You know? I found out a few days ago. That is why I was acting weird all weekend. You were acting weird? I was absolutely acting weird, Brooke. I barely slept Thursday night. I have been staring into space every time you talk to me. I ate an entire sleeve of Oreos on Saturday without tasting a single one. She stared at me for a long moment, and then something happened that I did not expect. She laughed. Not a polite laugh, not a nervous laugh. A full, genuine, from-the-belly laugh that made her double over and grab the kitchen counter for support. Oh my God, she wheezed. You thought they were having an affair. I mean, technically. You thought Tyler and Megan were sneaking around behind everyone's back like some kind of daytime soap opera. I heard sex sounds, Brooke, in my parents' house, while both their cars were there. What was I supposed to think? She wiped her eyes. Okay, fair. That does sound bad out of context. It sounded bad in context. But it is not bad, she said, straightening up. I mean, it is weird. It is objectively weird that my sister is dating your brother. But Derek has been cheating on her for almost a year with the preschool teacher. Their marriage was over. Megan is allowed to move on. So you are not upset? I asked. About Megan and Tyler? No, honestly, I think it is kind of sweet. She has been so miserable, and Tyler has always been such a good guy. If he makes her happy, then I am all for it. What about the family dynamics? Holidays are going to be interesting. Holidays were already going to be interesting once the divorce happened. At least this way, we do not have to deal with Derek anymore. Have I ever told you that he chews with his mouth open? Every Thanksgiving, for 5 years, I have had to watch that man destroy a turkey leg like a medieval peasant. I could not help it. I laughed. The tension that had been living in my chest for 5 days finally started to unwind, like a spring that had been coiled too tight for too long. I pulled Brooke into a hug, and she hugged me back, and for the first time since Thursday evening, I felt like everything was going to be okay. You should have just told me, she said into my shoulder. I know. I was trying to protect you. From what? Happy news. I did not know it was happy news. I thought it was catastrophic news. She pulled back and looked at me with that expression she gets when she finds me simultaneously endearing and ridiculous. You are such a warrior who loves you. A warrior who ate an entire sleeve of Oreos in one sitting because he was stressed. We all cope differently, Brooke. In the weeks that followed, things settled into a new normal. Megan's divorce moved forward quickly. Derek did not contest anything. He was too busy playing house with Miss Jennifer, the preschool teacher, to put up a fight over custody or assets. Megan got the house, primary custody of the kids, and a child support agreement that was, in her lawyer's words, extremely favorable. Tyler and Megan started seeing each other openly. They took it slow, which I appreciated. Tyler was over at Megan's place a lot, helping with the kids, fixing things around the house, just being present in the way that Derek never really was, even when he was technically still there. Lily and Caleb adored Tyler. Caleb started calling him Ty, which was both adorable and slightly concerning from a "we need to have a conversation about appropriate timelines" perspective. But the kids were happy, and Megan was happy, and Tyler was happier than I had ever seen him. My parents came back from their anniversary trip blissfully unaware of everything that had transpired in their absence. When they found out about Tyler and Megan, my mom's reaction was, well, She is a lovely girl, and Tyler could use someone who has her life together. My dad's reaction was, did they use the guest room or the master bedroom? When Tyler sheepishly admitted it was the master bedroom, my dad made him clean the entire upstairs bathroom as penance. Brooke and I talked about the whole situation a lot in those early weeks. She told me she was proud of Megan for getting out of a bad marriage, and she was genuinely happy that her sister had found someone kind. She also said she was proud of me, even though I had handled the initial discovery about as gracefully as a giraffe on roller skates. "You tried to do the right thing," she said one night, as we were lying in bed. "You were torn between protecting me and protecting Tyler and protecting Megan, and you did not know which direction to go. That is not a failure. That is just being a person who cares about too many people at once." Is that a compliment? It is the nicest thing I can say about a man who stress-ate Oreos and lied about floor tiles being out of stock. I maintained that the Oreos were justified. She kissed me on the forehead. "Go to sleep, you ridiculous man." I went to sleep. I slept well for the first time in a week. It has been about 2 months now since that Thursday evening when I walked into my parents' house expecting to drop off floor tiles, and instead walked into a situation that nearly gave me a heart attack. Megan and Tyler are still together. They are taking things one day at a time, which is the smart play when kids are involved. Derek has moved in with the preschool teacher, which is exactly the kind of decision you would expect from a man who thinks outgrowing your family is an acceptable excuse for infidelity. Lily still goes to the same preschool, but she has a different teacher now, for obvious reasons. Brooke and I are good. Better than good, actually. Going through something like this, even though it turned out fine, has a way of reminding you how important communication is. I should have told her immediately. I know that now. The 3 days I spent agonizing in silence were 3 days of unnecessary suffering that could have been avoided if I had just sat down, looked my wife in the eye, and said, "Hey, I need to tell you something weird. But I am a work in progress. We all are." The funniest part of this whole saga, and I think about this a lot, is the image of me standing on that sidewalk in the golden evening light, shaking like a leaf, convinced that I had stumbled onto the scandal of the century. I was so sure that what I had discovered was going to tear both our families apart. I was so sure that the truth was going to be devastating and ugly and irreparable. And instead, the truth was that two good people found each other during one of the worst times in one of their lives, and they helped each other through it. Sometimes the sounds you hear coming from upstairs are not a catastrophe. Sometimes they are just two people, bruised and tired and a little bit broken, choosing to be happy together. And honestly, I think that is kind of beautiful, even if they did it in my parents' master bedroom. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. Drop a comment below. What would you have done in this situation? I'll see you in the next one.